Hey, welcome to the Mystery School.
Hey, welcome, Mystery School. Hey,
All right, tonight we got Jeremy Plog.
Hello.
And Chris Arnett.
Hello.
How's it going, guys?
It's going good. My voice sounds like this. This is Jeremy.
This is Chris over here. Going good.
I'm the slow talker.
Yeah, Jeremy is an old friend, old roommate.
True.
You took me on the road when I was 21 on my first tour.
Under the wing.
Yeah.
Yep. Showed you the ropes. We had a clean cut. I don't know if you guys could even imagine this. Maybe you, I don't know how long you go back with Tony, Dustin, but Tony was like flat top.
It wasn't a flat top.
It was pretty close to Bart Simpson.
It was definitely no flat top.
All right, maybe not. I could be exaggerating.
It was
bleach blonde,
frosted tips.
No, brah.
No,
going with your skateboard style at the time.
We had a blast though. We were opening for Big Head Todd and the Monsters. If you guys remember that band,
I do. Yeah.
And we had a blast. It was like all over the country for 2 months straight.
Yep, 2 months.
So
every
update
like
the
good
audience
venue
with
where there was a good venue.
Golden Cadillacs.
The Jackie Greene Band. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you remember what year that was?
Yeah,
That was 2006.
06.
Yep.
It was early
Nate and
06,
Bruce's
right?
first tour in the band.
It was
as
like
well.
January or something like that.
Yeah, it was winter time. It was cold. I
Or
remember.
did we start at the end of the year?
Cold walks to Waffle Houses.
Yeah, it was
road
cold.
diet.
It wasn't
Yeah,
a brutal winter,
unfortunately.
really, but we had a few cold days.
Yeah.
You showed me how to get free beer at the venues.
How do you do that?
How's that? Yeah.
Well,
I need to remember.
Well, first you got to put it on your rider,
Oh yeah.
and then you got to go into the headlining band's room.
Oh yeah. I was pretty good at chumming it up with those guys, the headliners. Like, oh man, can't wait to see you guys out there. So then we can raid your ice chest. But they were kind of, if I remember right, they kind of drank pussy beers, right?
Were they like a Canadian
shots.
band or something? Like, what was their deal?
They're from Colorado.
Colorado.
Yeah.
So they were drinking organic, grass-fed beer.
Their rider was way better than yours. I know that.
What did they have on it? What do you remember?
They had more than 12 beers.
Yeah.
You guys had like 12 beers and like some hummus and
Yeah,
some
Jackie
organic
would.
snacks.
I found out later it was like a passive-aggressive move on Jackie's part to like limit the beers, because I'd always run into it with our road managers, and the road managers would change, and I'd be like, "Yeah, man, can we get more beer? We fucking run out of beer every night on tour. Can't we just up that shit, And they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I don't know." But eventually it came out where it's like, yeah, Jackie wants it limited for you guys.
He's moderating.
Yeah,
That's a smart band leader right there, though.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
It wasn't a popular move, but
Well, did any members have previous performance issues while intoxicated that led to that, or was it?
I don't
highly
remember.
doubt it.
Yeah, being a meticulous perfectionist kind of musician, just wanted to get everything right, I guess.
Yeah, I don't remember. I was always blacked out for the shows.
So maybe you were the source of the...
It's very possible. No, I think we always kept it pretty even keel.
Yeah, I mean, you guys played early anyway too on that tour,
Mm-hmm.
so it was
Yeah,
just pace it out.
but it's always the best party scene when you're opening for a band, because it's like you're done, your work is out of the way by 8 o'clock at night, and then it's like, cool, watch the headliner and try to mac on as many chicks as you can. And like, you guys ready to meet Todd backstage? Like, come on back.
Heard he's got a
You were
big
like
head.
Wayne's. You were doing the Wayne's World thing with the laminate, just walking around.
Oh yeah, it was good times. But.
So he's living Wayne's World, you're living The Simpsons. Just walking around with your laminates. You don't have a cow, man. You're just looking for pussies and some hamburgers.
Chris, I know you from Jeremy. I met you at like
Yeah.
a Golden Cadillacs show like a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's Jeremy's other band.
Yeah, actually, like, I kind of just like made Jeremy, like, be my friend, I think. Pretty
We're
much.
not friends.
Oh, we're not. I mean,
Yeah.
pretty much. I
I'm
mean,
kidding.
No. Actually, I just I actually saw the Golden Cadillacs like a long time ago. Like open up for play with Dave Gleason, and I don't think Jeremy was actually part of the band at that point. But
I didn't do any of those shows.
So like when I moved to Sac, like I kind of just saw they were playing one day. I think it was actually St. Patrick's Day or something. Like I had just moved to Sac.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I went down to this show, and I was completely sober. It was like Sunday. It was like a Sunday like St. Patrick's Day show
at Maryland's.
At Maryland's, yeah. So I was like, oh yeah, I remember that band. And I had I couldn't really like place the people that were in the band, so I kind of probably thought that Jeremy was like at that Dave Gleason show, but turns out it was Nick probably doing that. But so anyway, I just kind of really dug their music and we have like a lot of common threads as far as like, you know, the kind of music that we listen to and play, maybe even like I just really like gravitated towards what they were playing and was like, damn, this is a dope band. So just kind of like I said, kind of made these guys just, you know,
and we
accept
gravitated
me as their friend, you know.
We kind of gravitated towards you too, because he was like the only one paying attention to us.
There you go. Yeah.
We're playing like our kind of mellow country rock on St. Patrick's Day, so people are just annihilated, right?
Annihilated.
You know?
I was
and they're like waiting for
middle,
Celtic music or something, and
yeah, it was kind of a trip, man. Yeah, it was a weird. I just got done doing laundry actually, I think that day, and I remember I was like looking through the news and review, and I'm like, oh shit, the Golden Cadillacs are playing. I gotta go check these guys out.
How'd you hear it? Oh, so you first saw the Golden Cadillacs with Dave?
I saw you guys with Dave. Well, I saw Nick and I think Adam.
Gotcha.
Maybe a few other members, because this was back in like
probably
around 2006-ish. Maybe earlier than that. I don't know. Dave Gleason. I lived in Chico. That's where I'm from. So, like at the time, Dave Gleason would come in. He played a few shows at Duffy's with like his other band called the Wasted Days.
Yeah.
And so I went to those shows, and I thought those were like the shit. I don't know if you guys
it's
ever
a great
listened
band,
to Dave Gleason at all, but really, really awesome, like retro country. You know, kind of Graham Parsons, but like even more country, I'd say, than that. Vibe to him, really good guitar player. So anyway, the last time I saw him was when the Golden Cadillacs were supporting him. So so that's how I figured out about these guys. And then like I don't know, maybe like I guess 5 years later, like I came across them again. And I don't know, we just have like a lot of similar.
It's a pretty good memory for you to remember that.
I have an insane memory. I don't know what the deal is, but yeah, like except for when I have to remember like chords and like song lyrics and shit, I can never remember that stuff.
You might be the only fan that we haven't tried to sleep with.
Yeah, probably so.
Or did Nick? Well, maybe Nick tried to make.
I don't know, man.
There were a few drunk nights at the shack over there.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, but so I just met him through that, and then I met you through them basically. No, I think the first time we met, we actually went to that show together. I met you at that.
I
Bob
remember
Dylan
meeting you, or at least seeing you at the what's that place with the sausages downtown that you guys?
Oh no,
Lowbrow.
Lowbrow, yeah.
It was at the Graham Parsons.
I thought you stopped
thing.
hanging out at
Faces?
that place. Yeah. I didn't know you liked that still.
Yeah, I think it was at that Graham Parsons show. Man.
Yeah,
Thought you go on that retreat that was going to turn you straight.
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't know, man. So, but we also the first time we hung out was at that what do they call that thing?
The Americana Ramble.
There you go. Yeah.
Americana Rama.
Yeah, that's right. I was kept waiting for cars, like classic cars, to show up.
Yeah, we got Mia just framed the poster from that, but when we left, it was at the Shoreline, and they give you like this first concert because we brought Van. It wasn't his first concert, but it's like the coolest first concert. It says Wilco and Bob Dylan.
Oh yeah, cool.
It's
My Morning Jacket too. And
My
Bob
Morning
Weir was even
Jacket.
there.
Yeah, I know, even Bob Weir, but
Yeah.
And who was opening was the
Ryan Bingham, right?
Yeah, Ryan Bingham.
We missed like half of
we
it.
we missed him.
Yeah. But
I always tell people we were there, and it was, he did a stage dive.
no, we were
insane.
drinking beers in the parking lot when he played, I think. So
Yeah.
that's way cooler than actually
I know.
being there, I think.
Sucks because usually that's a band that we're probably all in. We're on stage while everyone's drinking in the parking lot.
That was, remember we were like, we had beers. We were going to the front of the shoreline, and the security guards were harassing us. They're like, throw the beers away, and they were like trying to slug them back. Like, we didn't say finish them off. Like,
totally, yeah. It's like, well, isn't that's concert etiquette? You know, they are harsh. You know, hey guys, we got to finish the. You know, we can't bring those in. Can't have those up here. And it's like, oh, okay. You know, it's unwritten. You know. Yeah. Where you just, all right, I'll chug it here.
And gentleman finish his beer.
Yeah, you know.
Assert your authority inside.
It's weird how, you know, tailgating for a football game is totally cool, but for a concert is absolute no, right?
Yeah, what's up with that, man?
Yeah, well,
just because they make
dirty
so much
hippies.
More money?
You can, you can kind of do it certain places, but it's that we were in the front, like where people were going in.
That's true. We were right in the doorway.
That's where they're not having it.
Yeah.
Oh.
We were.
Yeah,
fine
they want you
in
drinking that $12.
Purchase some product, buddy.
It's $1 per ounce, right? Inside there.
Yeah, he like knew like if I can get him to throw that half a beer away, that's like an extra $8 for the venue.
It's true.
What they do on a public street though, that pisses me off. I mean,
we probably were on private property, honestly.
Well, I've been like just they harass people when they're on the sidewalk just going in. I mean, that's still technically like public property on the sidewalk. You are waiting outside the building, but then they're like, drink your beer. No, you can't do that. It's like,
they probably own the parking lots though too, right?
They may own those because those are off the sidewalk and those are privately owned. But to my knowledge, I think if it's a sidewalk, it's public property, public street. So I don't, you know. It's not public property, I guess, but they can't be Nazis on it. But I've had people take things from me, like security guards going into shows, and like right on the street. And you're like, come on, that's robbery. I mean, what's up with that?
And then they start chugging it. It's like
no, they keep it. That's their tips for the night.
They're like, God damn it, a full bottle of Jack Daniels. You know you can't have that. It's like at the airport, right? Don't they do that shit? There's been a lot of people busted with that, you know, like,
man. Like or what, like.
Well, like chicks with like all their makeup, you know, like makeup's a big thing.
Shit is expensive.
That's some story I read. Some chick had all her, you know, high-end makeup, and they confiscated it, and one of the chicks got in trouble with the TSA for taking it home.
Yeah, well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, you know.
So, Chris. Let's hear a little bit about what you brought tonight to play.
Okay. So I just kind of like brought my whole rig pretty much, which is pretty much my living room rig at this point. But I don't get to ever like play at any kind of high volume, so it'll be interesting to play tonight. But basically I brought pretty much my main guitar that I play or that I was playing the last time I was in a band, which is kind of like a rare guitar. I mean, it's probably going to get clowned on a little bit because it's an Epiphone, but, I mean, it's a cool Epiphone, so I don't know.
Epiphones are cool in my book.
I actually love them, man.
Yeah,
like
they sounded like nice.
They make like the thing is like mine's like a Japanese Epiphone, so I feel like they're a notch above, you know. They're like a little bit.
It's hard to clown an Epiphone because everybody's got one.
Everybody's
how you gonna clown one? Everybody's got one.
It's true. I guess Jeremy brought the Epiphone bass, so they'll be they'll be sounding good together.
That is an Epiphone bass.
The cool thing about this guitar is
Kindred.
Like it's pretty much it's made in Japan. Like the body was made in Japan. It was actually supposed to be like marketed as like a John Lee Hooker model guitar, and they have like the John Lennon Casino, or they used to have it. I don't know if they still make that anymore, but they put like all Gibson electronics in the guitar, and then the body's made in Japan just to keep the price point down a little bit, but they actually shoot the thing in like nitrocellulose, just like a Gibson, you know. So it's pretty much like in my opinion, it's like a Japanese Gibson. It's basically like supposedly a 62 reissue. So it's got mini humbuckers in it, which kind of have like a unique sound, I think.
I think I've played it at your house before.
You may have, yeah. Definitely you've seen it. So that's the guitar.
It has a Bigsby?
It doesn't. It has that frequencinator thing on it. And I always wanted to put a Bigsby on it. Like, that was the whole idea when I got it. Basically, I'm a big, like,
What's a Bigsby?
Tim Bloom, like, nut.
What's a Bigsby?
Like a whammy bar?
Yeah, it's kind of like a whammy bar for like a big Gibson.
Vibrola bar.
Yeah, exactly.
For our French listeners.
Yeah, I guess
that French. That might be Italian.
I don't know. I guess the word whammy isn't probably quite correct on a Bigsby.
Yeah, whammy kind of gives like a different vibe of like, oh, you're gonna be doing some dive bombing. Cool.
Yeah, exactly. So I always wanted to put a Bigsby on it, but I haven't yet. Actually, I don't know if I will. I mean, mostly because I just don't really want to spend $200 on a Bigsby. But maybe. I mean, it already sounds good enough. So the guitar is cool. It's my favorite. Basically, the guitar I go to mostly, and I don't know. I've been playing more Fenders lately at home, but. I don't know. I'm just used to when I play live. I feel like it's just easier to play the Gibson scale length for me. So I don't know. That's what I do.
Like bending strings. And
stuff?
I
mean, it's just like it's faster to me. I don't know. It's like a faster neck for some reason. I mean, not that I'm a shredder or anything, because
It's ratioed proportionate to your body.
They're like, I guess so, man. Stuff. I don't know.
I always do better on a Gibson myself.
They're just easier to play, in my opinion. They may not sound. I mean, they're just a different sound. Yeah.
So, I can never get used to there's too many knobs. There's like too many knobs.
It suck. Yeah.
Or like at least one.
Because you're an old PRS man.
I grew up with a Tele and a Strat. So and then the first guitar I bought was a PRS, and it had 2 knobs. So you get kind of used to shit, that you grow up on.
Yeah.
Now those coming from a drummer, the PRS, like those were always my favorite guitar sound. A lot of my favorite guitar players growing up played those. It just gets like Gibson. I have to say that that tone is awesome, and
they're kind of like the hybrid, right?
The PRS is just it's that impressionistic like hybrid. Yeah,
they're like the hybrid between the two because they like have the playability of like a Fender Strat or something. But
it seems like they're very hard to dial in live. When I would see people play them live, they're just almost like a Gibson is already balls to the walls. They're almost more unhinged. So it takes that little bit more of like this tweaking and gearing on it to get that tone right. But when you do, to me, it was like the favorite guitar tone I'd ever heard.
You're a Creed man, right?
Oh yes.
Nice. I
me
bought
and that guy
PRS.
Scott, man, we used to party. I'm the one that drove him off the edge. That's why
I just saw like this thing about Creed. It's
happens.
Like, have you guys ever seen those like clips on YouTube? It's like, Creed shreds or like Fish shreds. Those they're pretty funny.
My favorite one's Steve Vai.
I just saw the Creed one the other day, and it was pretty funny.
Fucking Brownstein.
I just saw that video you posted about the kid doing the guitar face lessons. He's like, this move's called smelling the skunk.
That shit was pretty funny. Somebody actually just posted that on my page, but it was pretty legit. Yeah.
He was like,
guitar faces are real.
He's like,
for sure.
He's like, make a face like you smell something really bad, and when you bend it, then act like it just smells really bad.
That's awesome. So back to the gear.
What amp are you?
I'm playing it's a 1978 Silverface Deluxe Reverb that I had this. I bought it like a few years ago, and then I basically, as soon as I bought it, I brought it over to this guy, Mike Pascale, which I know Jeremy knows. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think you know him.
I know of him, yeah.
Yeah, and had him do some work on it. So basically just blackface it and then kind of dial it in. He actually did a few tweaks to it that's a little bit different than like a stock blackface Deluxe Reverb, but I mean, they're real subtle.
Kind of did his thing to it.
Yeah, did his thing, man. That guy is the shit. Should I plug him? No. Like, he's a vintage Fender amprepair.com, I think it is.
Yeah, I think
that
that's
guy
right.
is the shit, like, if you have an old Fender. So definitely.
And he makes his own amps, I guess, now, too.
Yeah, he has his own amp line that I just...
Oh, that's cool.
I haven't heard one yet, but they look pretty legit.
They're called, is it Fat Jimmy or
Fat
something?
Jimmy, yeah. That's his thing, like, he's into Jimmy. I don't know.
You know what's funny? On Instagram, I took a picture of the inside of my Fender Bassman once and put it up on there. And I just like hashtagged it like hand wired or something, and that guy like liked it or something.
Oh wow.
He must have been like searching hashtags,
dude.
And then later, like I was like, who's
what
this
a
guy?
creeper.
Or he was searching guitar
I looked
porn.
through. I looked at him.
He is a creeper when it comes to those, dude.
But this is the weird part. Like a few years later, probably 3-4 years later, I went to the Mother Hips show and his band opened. I was like, I think that's that guy who liked my picture of my amp.
Oh, dude, that's a good memory right there, man. The thing about him, dude, is like he like blueprints these things. He's like such a geek when it comes to these amps. Like he looked at your amp, like the chassis or whatever, and he could tell you exactly what is like original and what's not.
I wonder his thoughts on it because it's a completely modded amp.
Oh yeah, he's
the
probably
whole
like
modded.
Your bassman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got the Steve Bishop mods going on.
Right. Yeah. I wonder his take on it because he could probably do something like, I don't know what he would do to it, but he's the guy that we met him, Jackie. We met him through the Hips, the Mother Hips. Got all their amps done by him, and so he started coming out to our shows, and he would bring amps occasionally, and super cool guy, knowledgeable. I didn't even know how good he was. He's a great musician, plays bass and guitar really well.
He's always at Terrapin now, it seems like.
Yeah, that's where I saw him.
Crossroads, yeah.
Yeah, he moved down, so he was in Chico.
Yeah, that's how I met him.
And then he moved down to, I think, the East Bay or something.
I think he's in Petaluma right now,
nice.
Which is, I don't know, kind of a big amp place, it seems like. But it's right down the street from Terrapin, I think.
What was his
Mesa
band
Boogie amps.
Remember?
He was
there.
playing in Go By Ocean.
That's the band I saw.
I don't know if
Some
he's
of
still
my
in that
favorite
band.
bands, too,
really?
with
But
the tone,
I don't know.
From a German.
But
Maybe
so he kind of like basically went through my amp, and then I had a Pro Reverb, which I still have, and then a Super Reverb, and
Let's get him on the show.
Yeah, he's the shit, man.
Yeah.
Like,
let's hashtag some hard wires out there and go fishing for the troll.
Yo,
let's land the troll.
Fish on. There he is.
So that's basically the amp, and then just
that'd be one of Tony's dream episodes, probably just gearhead and
we could take a picture and then we could just like tag him on Instagram.
It'd be cool.
That's one thing we haven't done is take a picture of the group of all the guests each night.
No, we don't do that.
I think you're supposed to do that.
We don't do that. Yeah, we're supposed to.
But this is the mystery school, man. It's more mysterious.
Oh, yeah, keeping the mystery.
How did it get that
Maybe
name?
we should talk less, like keep the mystery.
Yeah, I'm curious how it got the mystery school. Like,
there's not a good reason exactly why it got it, but we just thought it was kind of a cool name.
We would just talk about some like mysterious stuff, like exploring knowledge and just different weird shit. Musically, when we jam together, it's all basically been jams, like improv.
You never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
basically.
and we would talk about weird shit like Egyptian history, like astronomy, quantum physics.
We started with the name, and then it seemed fitting. Like as we've went on with it, it's just kind of seemed like it works.
I guess.
That's cool.
What do you think of the name, Jeremy?
I mean, I think it's like if I had to scale it 1 to 10, it's probably 7.
Oh, nice.
You know,
I feel like I googled it.
Our first
and
try was
got some
average.
other shit. Like,
there's
online.
other shit. Yeah.
There is. Yeah, it's like that new wavy other stuff that I'm finding. It's
like new age.
Yeah, new age. Yeah, and
not like the
new
Cure.
wave. Not like musical. New age. I misspoke.
Yeah.
That's why I was throwing it out there, calling it like the jam cast, or Tony said noise cast to differentiate it. I don't know. What do you guys think about
I don't know, man.
that? Because with searching, we get associated with that.
Jam is such
age.
a weird word that like kind of that's gonna hashtag you into some weird category of like, some hippie stuff, which could be cool. I guess.
I just told him I thought Jamcast sounded kind of cheesy.
Corny or something.
It kind of sounds like
Do you think it sounds
like
cheesy?
a PlayStation game or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like or Dreamcast.
Mystery Jam.
Mystery Jam.
Like Mystery School podcast, right?
I think
the
Mystery School is cool,
Jamcast or Mystery School Noisecast. So,
how does that like? I mean, do you find like
cool?
that people find it like for like, or how do you like link people into like to know that it's musical?
I haven't really shared much.
I don't know how people find it really.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people do.
It's hard for us to find it sometimes.
I couldn't find it, dude.
So I
look on iTunes.
That's what I didn't look on.
I heard
you
the
gotta
one with Brian.
you got to go on iTunes
my buddy
or
Brian,
just search my
cool.
name and you can find it.
All right.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about. Okay, well, real quick.
I could wrap.
Go
up.
through your pedals real quick.
Okay,
just
pedals,
say what they are.
I'm playing tonight. I have a full tone Clyde wah. I think it's like the Deluxe Clyde or whatever. I have a Timmy pedal, which is an overdrive pedal by I think the guy's name is Paul Cochran. Yeah, it's a great it's like a Fender overdriven Fender amp sound.
That's exactly what you should call an overdrive pedal.
And then I have a like a Keeley modded blues driver, and a TC Electronics delay pedal, and then I just have a for tremolo and reverb. It's a Flint by Strymon.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right.
The Flint pedal's a good pedal. I borrowed his.
He spilled a beer all over it, man.
I did.
Oh man,
It was the worst borrow move ever.
He's putting his seasoning touches on it. Like,
yeah, totally.
Tuning it in for you.
Well, I wanted to leave my mark.
Yeah, man.
But in all fairness, it wasn't my beer. Luckily, I would never spill on a friend's pedal. But whatever happened, I don't know. But and he happened to be over at our house. He's like, "Oh, let me get that pedal." And I'm like, "Shit, the gig we just played last night, somebody fucking spilled the beer on it."
It's all good. I forgave you, man.
He sensed
thanks.
it. Yeah.
all right.
Thanks.
One
There's
thing
some animosity. I'm glad that's
We don't want that in there.
It's good to air it out on a podcast.
I thought you guys were confronting me here about that.
Jeremy, you listened to Ryan's, and we were talking about the 432 or what? I feel like you said before. Yeah, you said before was 443, which is what we did. But 432.
No.
And then you said you had some stuff to add to that, Jeremy.
Oh, I did. Uh-oh.
Yeah. So what do you got to add about that?
Was I high?
Maybe.
No. Well, what they say, what I've read about it is, 432 is what it is. The most common one is that's what your ears are tuned to hearing.
432.
432 is your bass pitch, And so if you tune down music to that, it sounds a little warmer and a little more earthy. And yeah, I mean that's kind of the gist of it. I've done some experiments, there's Audacity or any of these programs, you can detune your song or just drop it down. It doesn't change pitch, but it does I guess it does change pitch, but it doesn't change tempo.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting thing, and I don't know I couldn't give you a synopsis of it's way better, or anything, but yeah, I don't know, it's pleasing.
Yeah.
But it's my music, so it's it should be pleasing, I guess, to me.
Also, I had a tuner app on my thing, and I think they called the 432 Baroque tuning or something like that. So it was it was used during different periods.
Pythagorean tuning, and that's what drew me to it. And it's mathematically correct, kind of to sacred geometry, and it's based on the phi ratio, the spiral ratio, right, where the previous two numbers are the sum of the next number, and so that's where I think it vibrates kind of just the way organically, the way it should. And then when you break it down, when you do all the math, all the notes, no matter the equations you put them into, they they'll relate to another note in that solfeggio, and it's just it equates to sacred geometry that really turned me on to it. And then it does vibrate for me when I play in that tuning, like the crystal bowls or the Tibetan bowls, how they resonate with the chakra. When you hit those notes, you do feel it warm or tingle your belly or that certain spot. And then and also tying that into speaking words out, that causes creation, right? And that the Eastern thought of these notes in the right frequency, it becomes the love note, or speaking things into creation. So sound is making form, it's modifying molecules, and it also can. So they said certain notes have DNA reparation or healing. Certain notes bring things into creation.
I don't know if you guys could tell, but I've actually been talking in the 432 all night.
I wonder if we actually are there, I feel like I probably always sing there, even though the band's at 440.
Right? I feel
guys, follow
and that's the other thing. It's naturally
you're singing
easier
flat,
for singers to sing
obviously
in that key.
432.
Right.
It's just naturally the pitch they want to sing in. Well, Tony brought up. Sorry.
No, go for it, man.
But Tony brought up an interesting thing I didn't see, though, with the 440 tuning, how it's the Nazi conspiracy of the westernized music to have that bit out of tune, because music is already touching and moving enough. And if it vibrates in the right healing tones, I don't know, just when we were talking about our mystery school bullshit.
Well, I guess 440 is promotes aggressiveness and a little disorder, right?
And I would say maybe unease.
thought.
You want that vibration. You're on the brink of it. It's like this and this and this, and you're like, wait, you're not quite
if
there.
you do think about this from like a recording perspective, you don't want a lot of resonance and like frequencies building up.
It's not
so
that
maybe if you throw the whole thing out of tune, you're like, all right, we don't have to dampen these walls as much.
Yeah. My problem with recording, though, is like if you ever look at a recording of a song, you just have every frequency's on there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like notes are, you know, the tips of the icebergs of certain, you know, hertz or whatever, you know, and so it's a little hard for me to say, you know, like just, I mean, I'm not a scientist, you know.
Yeah, it does seem like it's all in there, huh?
Well, the
yeah, so it's
interesting
kind of
part,
hard
though, when they use those like tones to do like the cymatoscopes or cymatics, where you can see sand or moving into these geometrical patterns.
You seen that stuff before?
I have.
It doesn't work in those westernized tunings. So those pure notes, that tone that is mathematically correct.
When they start going through the tones, it's like right when it gets to those tones that are on like the solfeggio scale, then the thing immediately shifts to the next thing.
This geometric
so
lotus
it's like it goes, and it like gets.
And some are like really.
And when you're out of it, it's chaotic.
Too.
It's nothing, you know, in between, like our scale, but then you hit it to the right note.
Physics or something.
You've never seen it before? The solfeggios or the cymatoscope stuff?
I don't know if I have actually.
You should check it out. There's a few YouTube videos of that.
It's like
we tried to build one.
Like a metal plate with sand, and they'll have like some kind of driver on the plate, like vibrating
it throws a tone.
Yeah, throws like a strong tone, and then the sand just gathers in these shapes.
Whoa.
Like spiderweb looking stuff, and it's crazy.
No way. I think that's meaningful.
Right when it gets to these certain notes, and it just jumps to the next shape. There's like
it sounds like quantum physics or something. Is it related to that in any way, or what?
It is, yeah.
Sounds like
it shows the physical or the reaction of physical matter can have on things that aren't physical, like a brain wave, a sound wave, and how that can affect actually physical matter and particles that we can't see. So it gets you into that whole new way of thinking, because our brain waves, like, so people, you can sense people's things or whatever, how they feel, because is that being beamed out like a sound wave, right? And I mean, and those are modifying the molecules around it. So I mean, for me it was cool, because it ties into what you speak out is very important, right? Say the right shit. You may be speaking things into creation, or play things in a healing tone. If not, you think you're doing this artistic cool thing, but you're playing in the right key, and you're just part of the machine, making random molecules like that, playing just on that verge. So I think
we
it's
should
worth
be a
thinking
little
about.
flat then, is what you're like.
Yeah, exactly. Just that little bit flat.
Like like Tonight's the Night by Neil Young. That whole
album. Is it slightly flat?
I think it's all like
slightly flat. You tune off that day, it was the 440.
I think it was mostly because he was drunk. But
have you ever noticed though a tendency to tune slightly flat without a tuner?
I have noticed that, but I do it just for my voice. I notice that like if I'm almost a half step down, I'm just like, oh yeah, I just feel like.
Well, I've noticed that
better.
other people have noticed it. I think it is like a common tendency for people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll tune my drum heads a little bit and flat, and like project a little bit off
like
of the
sharp. It's weird.
That way they stick out and resonate.
Yeah,
in a different way than the notes actually in.
Yeah,
I always thought about that when I was
flat.
Thinking about the 432 thing. Is like, well, a drum, kind of has its tone. And it's like, cool, you're tuning it up. It's just a total ear thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, drum's a great analogy, because going from like 432 to 440, you're getting it sharper. You can choke a drum out of its natural pitch range. Mm-hmm. So you want to tune that head up almost to that point of choking it, and then go flat. So that's almost even a mathematical good analogy why it just logically sounds correct. It makes more sense, right? You wouldn't want to tune it up that last bit to be sharp. You choke it down a little bit, so you're not literally choking out the drum, and it's resonating clear.
Well, it definitely sounds better to the human ear.
Or body,
if you're
soul.
Well, that too, it's like if you're slightly flat, then if you're sharp is like one of the worst sounds, right? It's just it'll kind of you almost feel anxious when like a singer's like singing sharp, where you're like
that's that notes between those tones on the cymatoscope, where the sand is just in basically chaos, static.
All right. So Jeremy, why don't you tell us about what you brought tonight to play? You're using, I guess, we just use my amp and stuff.
Yeah.
You did bring an amp, but
I'm playing through this killer Vox amp. I'm not sure what it is.
Man, not that.
Is it like a Cyber Vox or something?
No, dude, we're doing the AC30.
Okay, AC30.
But it actually is the old Jackie Greene amp.
Oh, it is.
I bought
one.
You.
That's right.
You actually did the deal for me. You know.
I did.
You took me down to Jackie's practice. Well, you took me down to Jackie's practice space at House of Hits. Like,
this was a heist, right?
This is probably one of the first times I hung out with you, like one-on-one, like years ago. And you remember that day we went to House of Hits?
I remember we had a House of Hits thing Jackie did we rehearsed there maybe like twice, but we paid for like a year or two.
Yeah, we went down there and I
played
the amp and bought it $700. AC30.
700, huh?
Yeah, it's a good deal.
Is it like the old school one? Like
it's the UK one from like
1963 brown. No,
like what do they call them? Like TBX.
This is a TB6 or whatever.
TB6. Oh, those are good, man. Those are actually worth something.
It's the UK one. Yeah.
It was like 90s, right? That amp was built in the 90s.
I think
early 2000.
That thing's probably appreciated like double. It's what you paid for it.
Probably has.
Point. That's pretty cool.
It hasn't really given me any trouble just blowing a few tubes.
To come full circle, I never really played Vox amps. I never feel at home on them. I'm always like Fender. But the amp I just bought, this Victoria amp, is pretty much a Vox AC30.
Yeah.
But it has a little more of a Fender reverb and vibrato circuit.
Yeah, it's probably class A, B or something, right? Or like what would you say? Because it's probably more saggy like a Fender, but
it feels more like a Fender. But that when you push it, you start getting that chimey British thing.
That's a nice sound, man.
Yeah, it's
got
cool.
those greenbacks. I love the greenbacks.
Yeah.
What do you think about having those?
I like them because I like speaker distortion a little bit.
Yeah.
To where I like to push the tubes a little bit, but I like to hear the speaker kind of starting to give too, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I like that. That amp's a good amp. I've dug it at all the shows we played so far.
I've really liked listening to you play it. I've thought it's been like your best sounding amp that I've heard you play.
That's
we don't
good.
have room for that thing in there tonight, or what?
Not really. I don't know.
We could stack it, right?
I mean, it's in the trunk now.
Could stick it in with the lawnmower.
Arms. We're technically an octopus.
But I mean, I think the Vox.
I think when you play the podcast, you have to like play what's here, right?
No, people bring their
you
own
could bring.
Oh, they do. Oh, well, that's right. Chris
it depends.
Stuff.
Yeah. But I just figured, since you're practically playing Vox now, you could just use the house amp.
Use the real thing.
Right? There you go. Throwing you in the deep end. This is the mystery store.
It's true.
Okay, but you brought your Tele to play.
I brought, so I have a knockoff Tele. It's a GNL. And, no, I really, actually Nate found that guitar in Rocker Guitars in San Francisco. I was looking, I had a bunch of money at the time, which is very fucking rare. And it's never happened since.
So was it Friday or was it the first of the month? When was it?
Yeah, just got my new EBT card, and the music stores are taking those now. I think as long as you buy cigarettes with them. But so I had a bunch of money, and I was gonna buy the killer Tele because I grew up with a Tele, and I was just gonna buy the baddest Tele that I could find that really was the shit, that really I needed a main guitar because I kind of fell out of it with the PRS I was playing. And just on a search, and Nate's like, hey, have you played these guitars, these GNLs? I'm like, nah, man, come on. That shit's like $1,400, man. I'm looking to spend some real money here. And he's like, no, check it out. I think you would dig it, So I played it. I'm like, fuck, dude. Yeah, this guitar is the best one we played all day. And so I just ended up getting it. And it actually took me, you know how it is when you get something new, like a new drum kit or a new guitar or whatever.
Yeah, a little buyer's remorse.
Well, not in this case. But yeah, it's totally that where you're trying to get accustomed to it, and make it your third arm.
You were playing a PRS and you went to
way different
scale length
and the PRS was like the string spacing on that was kind of what was weird. I couldn't really play any other guitar because the string spacing on that.
Are they like a longer scale length, like a PRS?
No, it's in the middle. Their scale length is 25 inches, where Gibson is 24 3/4,
right,
and Fender's 25 1/2.
Yeah.
And so they're right in the middle. So it's a cool guitar because the PRSs are, because nobody knows what they're supposed to sound like. So it's kind of cool, in that regard. It's like, cool, I could just try to create my own sound with it. And but I just wanted to get back to like the basic of like, Tele's just kind of where my home was, and so I got that GNL, and it's cool. It's got the neck pickup's a humbucker, and
what kind of humbucker is it?
I think it's a Seth Lover in there, which it's kind of odd because that guitar, I rarely played the humbucker unless like the band's at a pretty low volume, because it's pretty dark compared to the bridge, which is pretty bright, every Tele. But that guitar just feels right. It's got jumbo frets on it and always stays in tune, and that thing's been banged around. It's been on tour, and it does it. It's a workhorse.
Now tell us about the bass. And you got some cool stories about this bass, really.
Well, I always wanted this bass. It's like it's probably a $300 bass that you can buy. It's an Epiphone Allen Woody bass with mini humbuckers in it. And it's
like a short scale, right?
It's short scale, and it's chambered. The body's chambered. Allen Woody was the bass player in Gov't Mule.
Will you take $300 for it?
This is one of my few things not for sale.
Okay, I thought you were selling everything, man.
The outfit I'm wearing is for sale, however.
I'll take your Mother Hip shirt, dude.
This is a pretty cool Mother Hip shirt.
Oh, that's the best.
That's some old stock Shootout.
Yeah. Yep, Shootout. That was a good record.
That was a great record, man.
I think that might be my favorite Hips record.
I would say it's mine.
Yeah.
Well.
But tell us more about the Allen Woody, because you actually talked to Warren, and he signed it for you and told you like how Allen designed it.
Yeah, well, Allen Woody. So, Gov't Mule was like, that was my band. I felt like that was my music. Those guys were like, kind of like a power trio in the classic like Cream, Jimi Hendrix sense, and so I'd go see those guys. I would drive down to San Francisco when I was 16 and see him at the Fillmore or wherever, and got to hang with those guys a little bit way back in the day. Allen Woody actually bought me a beer at the Great American when I was like 18 or something. He just thought, they're fucking old bastards. They're coming from the Allman Brothers. And
you look old enough.
So yeah, they just figure like, nah, no kid's gonna be into our shit, like this guy's gotta be at least 21. So I remember I had a Heineken. He's like, you drink this piss water? Like, I'm like, yeah, I like Heineken, man.
Nice. What was he drinking?
I mean, I didn't want to say I wanted a Mickey's, which is probably what I was drinking at the time.
The Keystone Light place.
Like the next green beer, I'll take that other one in a green bottle.
Totally.
Yeah.
I forget what Allen was having, but he was a pretty notorious partier. I mean, that eventually killed him, but not to bring it down, but he was an avid lover of like vintage Epiphone Gibson basses. He played a lot of like EB2s and
nice.
And
That's
EBOs,
the SG bass?
EBO is the SG bass. EB2 is like a 335 bass.
Okay.
I just saw. I was playing a Yardbirds album like yesterday, and I don't know the bass player's name in that like band, but he was actually. I noticed he was playing that bass on the cover. It was like "Rave Up with the Yardbirds."
The EBO or
the 335.
Oh yeah,
EB2,
yeah.
I guess. So,
nice. Those are cool. They. They're hollow though, so they're just like...
It's like this bass that you're playing. It's a hollow body.
Yeah, so this thing's chambered though, so it doesn't have any F-holes
Oh, okay.
So it kind of has this sound, but it's a cool bass. I played a lot of gigs with it, and the short scale thing's kind of weird too. How it like, you get like a different hyped low end. It's like a low mid thing.
Yeah.
That you don't get with other long scale basses. It's a different animal.
Made you switch over to your P bass, or it just works better for?
I always grew up with a P bass, so that's kind of home. My dad is a musician, so like I grew up with, drums and bass and guitar and pedal steel. My dad plays, and
that's cool.
Fiddle even. I used to play a few songs on fiddle at night. If you can imagine
play some
that.
keys tonight?
No, I can never play keys at all. Yeah.
You got to bust that fiddle out.
I play a keyboard like I play like I am on the typewriter, Like I'm just like pecking.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Hunt and find.
I can't play anymore either. I used to do recitals when I was like 8, 9, and 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Like read and everything?
Yeah, I could read. I did. Like I read music all the way up to high school. Actually, all the way. Yeah, in high school, did like honor band on the clarinet and saxophone.
Wow.
So you play all sorts of stuff then? Like...
I did back then. Then like I guess high school, I just kind of I did marching band and stuff, and I gravitated towards the jazz band and drums a little bit more, and I guess I focused too much on that and didn't stay true. I can still play a little bit of bass, but
it's cool.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between that bass and like a Jack Cassidy?
Well, the Jack Cassidy is a big,
it's full.
Long scale, and it's hollow. It's semi-hollow. It's got a block in it, and it has F holes.
Okay,
and that's a cool sounding bass too.
The Jack Cassidy looks more like a 335 or something.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a Les Paul 335 mixture because it's got like
it has its own animal. I mean, if you have flat wound strings on it, which I do, it definitely can sound kind of like it sounds almost like an upright. You can if you palm mute and stuff, Yeah. But it can kind of rage too, the Jack Cassidy.
It's very versatile.
Yeah, those are both 2 Epiphone basses I've played a lot, but really my mainstay bass is the Fender P bass. Is like it just always sounds good no matter where you go, and whatever you plug into, it's like, oh, that's bass. Cool. It fits in the band, It's
like the quintessential rock bass, right? I mean,
it's pre-tuned to 432.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like R&B bass, you tune it down to 432 and it's like panties are dropping.
So what do you guys want to get
right.
at tonight? I mean, it's our first time, a lot of us jamming together. What's our vibe going to be like?
It's going to be
what are you guys feeling like tonight?
This is what I figured. We play like kind of like 70s American like rock. Like Allman Brothers,
classic chord progression.
I think we're all kind of in like
and it's just instrumental tonight. We got no singer. We're just gonna be doing a lot of solos, a lot of just ripping it down.
I think this is a good lineup.
4-part harmonies.
A lot of different like sounds probably.
We got and we're gonna be playing rotate the bass basically. We'll just keep switching. Yeah. We'll all play.
That sounds cool.
And we'll just get jamming.
I think we got a good lineup for a jam band session.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
I think it fits the format.
Like I'm more of a garage band guy, I'd say. Jeremy's super polished. So
no, he's not.
We'll go in between a little bit of all those. Yeah, I mean, that's what jamming is. I'm
pretty
out
sloppy.
The demons, right?
I'm definitely into the 70s.
I mean, Jeremy, where we're gonna go.
One last story before we get in
robot.
there. You got to play guitar with Gov't Mule.
Yep.
And if you don't believe it, there's a YouTube video where you can see it. Have you seen it?
I have not seen this.
There's a YouTube video.
It's a clean one too, and you get the shout out.
Can we say that? How do you find the YouTube video?
Sure.
So tell people how to find it. You told me.
Well, so
one thing.
The quick story behind it is that Gov't Mule. So the band I mentioned that
like your favorite band of all time.
My favorite band in high school. I mean,
even over Allman Brothers, huh?
Well,
I mean, they're pretty much
for the fact that like I thought this is my band, and the Allman Brothers were like that's my dad's band,
Yeah, right.
That my dad turned me on. That's my dad's music, But So Gov't Mule early on, they were a fucking beast of a live band. They were killer. I saw some epic shows. And Warren Haynes is just my idol on guitar. He's really the reason why I played lead guitar, and went further into playing. But so yeah, to be on the road with those guys, and then Warren's like, yeah, man,
that's a dream come true. Like playing with your ultimate favorite band. That's just
pretty much.
What was that feeling like? Were you having an epiphany like on stage? Like,
what'd you think about, man?
What were you thinking about?
That really was.
You're like, that's your culmination of all your hard work.
That's the number one band you probably could have played with, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as a kid going to their shows, like at the Fillmore or whatever, my dream was like, man, if I could just play the Fillmore, open a show for them or something. That's like, that's all you can ask for,
Yeah.
But
then you did a whole tour of that.
We did a bunch of tours with those guys. But at that point, it's funny, how it works, because I had really their band had changed a little bit, and I wasn't really as much into it anymore as I once was,
Thrown into some new things.
Yeah, they kind of went into this more rock category. I kind of liked them more.
Was Derek Trucks playing with them at all at that point, or no?
No,
he never played with.
He was just kind of like a sit-in guest kind of thing, and they're a band that has like tons of guests. Like Jackie guested every fucking night of those tours, and Jackie would learn a song. But in my sit-in situation, and I sat in with them a couple times, but the one time that we're talking about, Warren's like, hey man, cool, so you've sat in with us a couple times, what song do you want to play? Like, just any song, like, let's do it, and they're a band that like, they can cover any fucking song, so I'm like, okay, I thought about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I like this Humble Pie tune that they do called 30 Days in the Hole. And so I'm like, that'd be cool, there's some guitar riff in it, it's kind of southern rock, which is kind of my bag. So, yeah, so I chose that song, and
play bass on.
I played guitar on that.
Okay,
nice.
Blue Tele.
Yeah.
Was it the Blue Tele?
Yeah.
Nice.
And Jackie was out there playing tambourine and sang some background vocals and stuff. So it was cool.
So the dream just keeps getting better. So you not only opened up, you got to play on stage, and then Warren's asking you, hey man, what song do you want? You got to pick your song.
That's crazy.
You know, make a special request.
You know what was funny about it though too is that song. I never play in drop D tuning, but that song kind of needs it.
Drop D.
Oh wow!
And so I'm like, yeah, I gotta do it, because Warren's like, can you do like Mark Ford played on a recording that Mule did with Mark Ford on that song. He's like, can you nick the Mark Ford licks, and like some of the rhythm stuff? So I'm like, yeah, okay, and it's all drop D. So I'm like, so there's a couple parts, where Warren and I are trading licks, and I'm like, oh fuck, that's right, I'm drop D.
Oh damn!
But
were
it
you
worked
stoked
out,
on like how you played in the song? Like, how'd you come off of that song?
Were you just soaking it in, or you get to play a couple times? But so the very first time, were you just soaking it in, or were you going in between, like playing technical, or were you just trying to focus on playing it right and just doing your shit, or were you absorbing it?
Were you trying to one-up Warren or what?
I sound like a poor man's countryer version of Warren, probably. Nice. So like I remember the first time I sat in was like more of a bluesy, funky thing. So I've never been accused of overplaying just because I simply can't physically, So that helps me out. It's like, oh, you're tasty. Yeah, less is more. Cool, man.
Nice.
It's like, well, yeah, it's because, like, I don't really have any real technique,
But it takes the technique of listening. It takes that.
Yeah, I mean...
being able to execute that.
I think I have some melodic sense, and it's like I just kind of go with that over... that's kind of the people I listen to are just in that vein, not really like Yngwie, where it's like, more is more. Wait, how can less be more?
You got to have like a wall of Marshalls, dude.
Yeah,
like, I mean, that's what
scalloped.
Did you guys
scalloped in
rehearse
a wall of Marshalls
before your first jam? Or
no
was it
rehearsal.
Just come on.
There's no rehearsal. It's just like, yeah, you're sitting
That's
in.
a weird song,
That's
though,
awesome.
right? I mean, did you like practice it at
little
all,
odd.
like beforehand, or were you?
I
like,
did, like,
yeah.
because we opened the show.
Okay.
And so then I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going over some shit. And it's weird because in your mind, it's like, oh, yeah, I think I'm going to take a solo this way,
And it never
Then you're
works
out on stage and it's like, that shit's
the
right
plan just
upon
goes
you.
out
And you're
the
like,
window.
yeah, it's like, well, Warren took the solo that I thought I was going to get. So I'm like, oh, fuck. Is he even going to give me a solo?
He left you with to take it on home, right? Or
yeah,
what?
well, he knows me as a bass player, so I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, maybe he's not going to even give me a solo. He did tell me to, learn the Mark Ford rhythm stuff, so I'm like, fuck, here I am, rhythm man up here, dude. Damn.
But then he
I
gave
got
you
played.
the nod, though, right?
And then he gives me the nod at the end of the song. It's just, and then it's just like, go for it. It's basically just you're jamming over a riff, and it's like, oh, okay. So, yeah, it was cool. But you could find it if you get on YouTube and you type in Gov't Mule, Jackie Greene, 30 Days in the Hole.
Nice.
And
then you got to find the one and look for Jeremy playing the blue Tele.
yeah,
Jeremy Plog.
Yep.
Plug.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's
My bad.
technically it's
I
a
just
long
threw
go.
myself
But
out there.
do you know how your
It's all
name's
good
spelled
now.
on that video? Did you read it?
It's got the.
No, is it?
The U
They-
with the W.
umlaut?
E with the
On the
dot.
video it says
Really?
Yeah.
on that video it says
No
Jeremy
way.
Plug, Plug.
Plug. Oh, okay. I think Warren said that at one point.
Oh, really?
Like, cause yeah.
It probably sounds similar. I mean, plug, pretty close.
Plog.
Most people would go with Plog. I think I did that the first time.
Oh,
I
yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people go plug.
Well, hey, it rhymes with Pog, man. You want to go play some Plog, right?
Yeah,
you were
Pog's
into that,
cool.
right?
I
We were
missed
too
it.
old
I'm-
for that
word.
shit.
Plug,
Yeah,
you're
I'm
kind of
too
looking
old.
for a U and an E or somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, plug would be like
Motley
They call
Crue.
those
Pluggue,
stoppers or
right?
something.
Yeah, I think so.
Those.
All right, let's go jam. Let's do it.
We're
All
gonna
right.
jam.
All right,
Cool.
guys, jam
All
time.
right.
back after the jam.
Welcome. Let's take a deep breath.
Just us and 4 Bigfoots over there.
How long do you think we were in there?
I don't know. An hour?
Probably like at least,
over an hour.
No, we were over an hour.
Hour and a half?
It's probably over an hour, yeah.
So was that a full set? Like, could we have just
Yeah, it was a set.
done a set?
Yeah, I think so. Like back in the day, like we'd have played like a park and that would have been it right there, like on a Sunday or something.
If we would have sang like 3 verses throughout the whole night, we'd have been good.
We could have probably done Oye Como Va at the end there, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, it could have. It was
into some Latin feels,
Spanish,
like
maybe?
some Indian kind of feels there. I think we kind of ran the gamut, at least of the westernized versions of that. Was
there was a
heavy
raga.
blues. Yeah, I did keep going into that. Like,
it was cool.
What musical territory do you think we crossed, Jeremy? Where do we start out the night?
Let's see. I'm trying. Well, we started a little more towards country rock.
Yeah. Huh.
Right, and then gradually, I think we, as a band, we found our feet in the kind of minor riffing.
Yeah, I think a lot of the chord progressions had some minor in them.
That's a tendency I have.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to beat. Like when you're jamming, like it's almost best to just stay on the one.
I know the
Like,
one chord blues.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard to get.
then you can go
venture
anywhere.
Out,
Yeah,
once everybody's locked in, it's like you want to kind of move it from there, but
I know that's the thing.
Nobody does.
You're in the one,
Yeah.
and then you can do endless amounts of riffs off the one.
It's true,
And,
and
you
they
know,
never sound wrong because everyone's in the one.
Everyone's doing
So-
their own riff in the one, and it's all good.
And eventually, you find one that you all agree on.
And then at some point, though, everyone's like, "All right, we've been on the one for a while. Where should we go?"
4.
Every once in a while, we just go to the 11 or the
I heard a rarity tonight that I don't.
I don't know
often get to
anything
hear.
above a. Yeah, go ahead.
But with all 3 of you guys playing kind of really unique parts that were very different, and so, but they all were very much similar. They merged together.
There was some cool parts where we all riffed.
You were all leading the riff.
We all just did a riff in their. Yeah, they're like all different.
There were a couple build-ups, like, and every musician's like thinking like where it comes from in their head, so maybe like in my head it's like, oh, I'm kind of doing an Allman Brothers thing here, and then in your head you're like, oh, this is King Crimson-esque, or whatever.
Everybody's interpretation. And
it's kind of cool.
I was feeling Allman Brothers a lot.
Yeah,
I did. Yeah,
that's like my favorite kind of jamming, Allman Brothers.
Yeah,
stuff.
they're kind of the best at that.
Yeah, like
they got the copyright on it.
Yeah.
If there's any guys that can go between 2 chords the best,
It's true.
it's got to be the Allman Brothers.
Yeah, I mean in the blues rock spectrum for sure.
Yeah.
And they kind of took a lot of that from that kind of blue Miles Davis record.
Is it? Yeah.
But it's because it's very modal, a lot of the Miles Davis stuff at that period was like, A minor to B minor, or really they weren't that keys. It was like B flat minor to C minor, stuff like that.
Yeah, his version of MacArthur Park was always just, it got me as a kid.
Nice. It's amazing how popular that music, that's like pop, almost.
Yeah, jazz almost transcended and became pop there.
Yeah, it's a super popular record. But
So was it like, was it Dwayne who was into the Miles Davis stuff mostly?
I think so. Well, I think the drummer, J-Mo, got Dwayne into that.
Okay.
So I think that's the story, because J-Mo met Dwayne Allman, early on.
Yeah,
So when
down in Muscle
he was the
Shoals.
first guy to join Dwayne's band, which would become the Allman Brothers.
Okay. Was he another studio musician, like at Muscle Shoals or something?
He was down there. That's where Dwayne met him. Dwayne was like, the story I heard is like Dwayne was camping at the studio, like he pitched a fucking tent and was like, you guys are going to use me. And they're like, you're another guitar player, dude. We got like 1 million of you guys. And he's like, well, I'm just going to camp out here. And eventually they said like, well, there's that one dude out there. Like, maybe let's see what he can do, And so yeah, and he
was
immediately
even
came
slide
in
at that point. Like, was that pre like when he got into like that Taj Mahal record and like Jesse Ed Davis slide? I think
he must have always been playing a little bit or something.
I feel like
I don't know.
The rumor was that I read, or at least was that like he got in like a horse accident or he got like laid up at some point.
Yeah.
And he couldn't like play. Well, he could play a little bit, but he was like and Greg Allman actually was like kind of responsible for some reason. I don't know if it was a car wreck.
I heard of something like something happened. He was sick or something. They brought him a bottle of Corsetin pills.
Yeah.
And that record.
Well, he was like in a wreck or something. Like,
was it?
He was pissed at his brother Greg. So
yeah,
Greg actually tried to make up with him by bringing him some pills, and he slipped him that first Taj Mahal record.
Yeah, and he learned the record with the pill bottle.
Yeah, that's it. So
yeah,
I thought he started playing slide at that point, but that could have been prior to the Muscle Shoal days. I don't know.
That's probably like some old Allman Brothers mythology. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's the slide player you want. Like, take some pills and do some slide. Like,
you know, you got to do all those pills so then you could use it as a slide, right?
That's what we were lacking was the slide player.
Mm-hmm.
He learned the slide chasing the dragon,
Yeah, so apparently, that's the story though. He learned to play it listening to Statesboro Blues, right? Taj Mahal version.
Yeah. That's a trip to me, man, because it was like I mean, the guy was like so young, and like he just mastered that shit so fast.
That came out in '68 or something, right? That record.
Yeah, it was like.
And then the Allman Brothers' first record was in '69. So.
I mean, I think he called his brother like right after he got the record and started jamming to it, and he's like, "Dude, I got this stuff. It's like easy."
Yeah.
And then like he came. That's how they kind of made up from their little tiff. Like, we gotta like do this thing. I don't know. I don't know. That's what I was reading about. I mean, I like to geek out on Wikipedia. I don't know how much of that shit is actually true, but.
I have a hard time retaining knowledge anymore as I get older. But, Alan Paul like is this writer who like totally is the Allman Brothers guy, And anyway, he wrote a book, kind of the history of, and it's really cool. Kind of chronicles the whole thing up until like almost present day, Yeah,
I haven't read much about them, like, really. So I'm I need to get. Do you have that book?
You should borrow it.
Steal it from you.
I think Nick's borrowing it right now, but
all right,
could wrangle it from him.
Yeah. So what did you think about like the tones? How did they change? Like your guitar versus the SG versus like when the R2 guitars were playing, did it sound a lot different than when Tony and like, I don't know, I didn't really pick up that much of a difference between the Tele and the SG with my
guitar. I did.
Was it a lot darker, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to play on the bridge pickup quite a bit.
I was all neck. You notice that?
Yeah.
I just like the neck. I used to play bridge for years, and then when I had the SG,
is that when you were hanging out with grandmas?
Yeah, because like you
playing bridge.
I used to like set it up so like the bridge sounded best, and the neck doesn't sound that great. But then I started setting it up where the neck sounded best. Adjusting your tone for that, and that's been my favorite since I started doing it.
Do you guys get a Native American vibe off of Tony's guitar playing?
I can feel that sometimes.
I constantly find myself, as a listener, as a drummer, trying to pick up on what people are laying down. And I hear him laying down a lot of those.
I play a lot off the land I'm on, so you're probably hearing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably that.
I like it. That's what really drew me to jamming with him, was that tribal.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about maybe burial ground.
Who knows? We're reviving something.
Could be.
I do a lot of Western
all spirits,
Plains
right?
Native American riffs.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm kinda like
you guys should listen to Tomahawk.
Northwest.
They have a really cool album. It's all like old Native American hymns, but done. Do you guys know Mike Patton from Mr. Bungle and stuff?
Oh yeah.
That Tomahawk's his kind of side group with the helmet guys, and it's pretty pretty cool stuff. I think it's got the drummer from Slayer.
Wow.
This is the first time you've jammed with
good indie
Chris,
vibes.
right? Other
it's
than
the first time we've ever jammed.
Yeah,
like
other than like just
acoustic,
messing around,
right,
I guess. Yeah.
I don't think I haven't actually.
He did sit in with the Golden Cadillacs.
Yeah, but that was just a 12-string. He was.
Yeah, that's
he wasn't
right.
I was
hammered down
like
some
completely
riffs.
shredding like 2 chords on that 12-string, man.
It was very Tim Buckley on.
I didn't even
12.
take advantage of it either. Like I was like, it was funny because I just started like talking to this pretty hot, like probably 24-year-old, I don't know.
Oh man.
And then like these guys were like, hey, come on stage, and she was just like into that, you know. It was like the perfect timing, basically.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say it was the worst timing.
It was the perfect, because then I popped off after like 2 songs, and it was like, hey, how's it going, you know?
So sorry about that, but
Yeah.
where were we? We were making out, right?
You
we
guys
were
were
really
the
close.
ultimate wingmen.
Yeah,
That was like, but I pretty much like, you know, fucked the whole opportunity up. So, whatever though.
This show's been
you
cool.
know.
Like I think almost every single episode, there's been at least some combination that's never played together before, or if they had played together before, it's been years in between.
Oh, that's cool.
Like I think a couple episodes ago, my buddy on bass, we had been like 10 years since we had jammed together.
Wow.
And yeah, I think every episode, either it's been one of my buddies or Tony's buddies that. Yeah, it's somebody in the room.
Keeps it pretty raw.
Yeah, somebody in the room has maybe played with the other person before to hold that foundation, and then there's that fresh, you know, first meeting impression too to keep it just going very out
Jeremy,
there.
you actually are how I know the first 2 guests we've ever had too. Ryan Moore was first, right? I mean, we had Kevin, but we had Ryan Moore.
I think Ryan Moore was our
it's like a high
first,
school
like,
buddy of
real
yours
guest.
Yep.
who I met through
Yep.
you. And then we had Adam, and yeah, he's in your band, the Golden Cadillacs.
Yeah.
That's when we knew that it was gonna, like, this was a good idea, like what we were doing, and talking to Adam about being a wordsmith and how do you arrange a song? Like, do you write a melody first?
Yeah, Adam.
and then
Adam
you write
was
lyrics to it, or make.
he was giving us some good info about that.
Nice.
He's
yeah,
a word
he
man.
kind of writes in an interesting way where it's almost like poem or short story first, right? Is that what he told you?
Well, he was saying he writes the
Or is he
words
lied to
first.
us?
Well, he seems ambidextrous like that, where he can write words to the melody, but he almost seemed to say, I don't want to speak for him, but he almost enjoyed writing the words and building the environment around that. You know, the instruments really echoing those thoughts, those ideas. I mean, it was cool.
The best way
we gotta keep doing
to do
this.
it, man. Like, I mean, if you could pull that off.
Yeah,
it's
you have
not
to have a
easy.
really amazing creative songwriter, really amazing
cool.
words that are laying a story and a palette of colors that you can build from, which that's very rare. That's like the 1%ers. A lot of it, you have to write a melody or together and write the words around it. I mean, I know a lot of very good bands that the music's written completely first and passed off to the vocalist, and there's something really valid in that too. And you can write some really cool, syncopated or polyrhythmic word, around that and play on. But I think vice versa,
That's cool.
musicians can do that with the vocalist's track as well.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like there's, so many different ways, and it's just a song, it's like a 3-4 minute song, right? And there's just infinite possibility,
Yeah.
It's kind of one of to get back to mystery school, right? I mean, that, no pun intended. Or was it? Yeah, I guess so.
Good time.
But, yeah, it is crazy like that.
And it's good to see every approach as valid in its own way, and then that's how you can have these moments with 4 musicians in a room and jamming, because we're not locked into a way of approaching, how we create. And I think both views are equally valid, equally beautiful, and I think good bands or albums are written in multiple ways, multiple jumping points, whether from a bass lick, a drum riff, lyrics.
Kind of weird, like this format, like once we start going, everybody just has to go with what whoever does.
Yeah.
It's not like you stop and be like, no, dude, it was going like this. Like, this is how we're going to do it.
Well, it's kind of exactly what we were just talking about, like an album where each part is driven by that instrument. It might be a drum-driven piece, and this may be a guitar-driven track. It may be a bass lick. And that's how I think you jam. You jam through that where one person's driving, and you get every voice, and then you try to transition in between those voices to make one whole piece. The album, right?
Hey, you're playing support, and then you're taking a lead approach, and then support.
Exactly. Just like speeding down the freeway, right? You can't just tailgate the guy going 90. You got to trade off once in a while for lead the way a little bit, and then
it gets a little like taxing being the lead guy. So you got to like you take the lead for a little bit. You're like, all right, I'm out of licks.
Yeah.
I'm out of licks.
That's what happened to me. I was like, oh, shit.
It's kind of weird.
Back to rhythm.
I feel like it's like you don't even really when you first jam together, it's like you don't even really like look at each other in a way. Like, and maybe you do a little bit, but it's not like we're like nodding each other like, all right, it's your turn or anything. You just kind of like feel it out, I guess.
Yeah.
And like that's like you're all on constant like, all right, what the fuck's going on now? Like, what am I doing next? Or what's going to happen? You know, who's going to change something? So it's definitely makes it more inventive and more, I don't know.
Yeah, you're walking thin ice a little bit.
Oh, yeah. You could.
You're just like.
There's a lot of sour notes, at least by me. I mean.
Definitely by me, too.
Well, jamming's it's the ultimate practice in awareness. You know, just being aware. Like you said, when you have a really good lick or idea, or when you're out of them, and when to sit back, like listening, being aware of the voices in the room.
Makes it a lot more fun than just playing the same old shit over and over again, I guess. Yeah. But even though you end up doing that eventually in the songs anyway. But I mean, it always changes. But it's not like. You're like playing some song that you learned and you play it over and over again.
That's the thing I like
it's
about
like a completely different.
Like we're not playing songs because when you start playing a song, you feel like confined to
you're not
the tradition of the song. And like while we're playing stuff that is probably straight up some other songs, some of those progressions and whatever, like you could probably make plenty of like.
It's an organic channeling of the creative consciousness when you're jamming. It's just like tapping in.
But yeah, you feel like you have some kind of freedom and you just kind of get going.
I'm kind of curious to hear
freedom.
some of the other, now that like we've done it, just to hear some of the other ones. So you said you've had like 3 of these now or something?
No, we've had lots of these.
Lots of them.
Oh, really? Whoa.
We're
this
getting
is
up
like
there, man.
Probably number
15, 16.
Probably.
Wow.
But the first one started doing cassette 4-tracks. Oh. And then now we're doing like 16 tracks digital. But we started with cassette 4-tracks.
Storage.
Then reel-to-reel. Then reel-to-reel 4-track.
Yeah. Wow.
And then now we're doing 16-track digital. So now like, before like the first stuff we were doing drums or like maybe a stereo pair,
Yeah.
And then like a bass and a guitar on like another channel.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a nice study on stereo versus mono, and a lot of discussions about when we had to record a lot of on those tape in mono, and then
the first one probably is in mono.
Yeah, they were, and then stereo, we're like, oh, that's blowing our mind, man. Like, and we had some neat conversations on the benefits of stereo. Just playing with that effect. I mean, so
it's cool.
Yeah,
it's like your own. The podcast went through. The stages that recorded music went through.
Yeah, it's just a little baby stem cell. Yeah, it did. Tape. Yeah.
What do we
started out on an old wire recorder?
We're already up into like the 90s and 2000s, like after a couple of weeks. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, you're pretty good. Skipped 8 tracks. That's good.
Yeah. We would have used it if we could have.
Yeah. Well, we like the thought of magnetism with tape, right? Does it capture something beyond just the digital sound waves? Does it capture thoughts in your brain? Does it capture the vibe in the room?
How did the tape work out?
I don't know.
Was it?
We liked it because we were biased. We talked ourselves up with that thinking.
Actually, listen to Ryan Moore and Adam Wade. Those are both on tape.
It's not. I like it. It has its place for me.
Both of them came
actually,
solo.
Dean Hawkinson was on tape too, right?
It was reel to reel.
Yeah, they're all 3. Weren't all 3 of those? No. Ryan Moore was on the cassette, huh?
The first,
And Adam Wade was maybe the first.
With the first reel to reel.
So you guys are doing this like every week, or
we went for every other week,
2 a month.
Yeah, 2 months.
Oh, okay.
Or sometimes 2 weeks off, 2 weeks on. So
nice.
Cool. Two a month.
We got Gabe Aiello coming up. You know Gabe, right?
I went to high school with Gabe.
Yeah, he's coming up, and then Justin Forcioni. You know him?
Yep. Yeah, he's good.
He's coming up on the next, actually we're doing 3 weeks weekends in a row almost.
How do
1
you-
week off.
How do you normally? You just meet the guys, like
There's
see
people
them
I-
out and around.
Old
People
friends.
I know, I
Yeah.
get, basically, yeah.
Oh, that's
We
cool.
haven't ventured on to strangers yet.
We
That would be a trip. Yeah.
we did one guerrilla podcast with
What was that all about?
Rough Francis at the Witch Room.
Okay.
Yeah, we went and recorded their show. That's an interesting episode to listen
We
to.
brought
They have some
equipment
history.
to the outside.
Hmm.
You know, when you start a podcast,
Yeah,
you
those
don't
are
know
the
what
first
it's
people we
gonna
didn't know.
entail. Took it on the road once.
Yeah, that was fun.
Gotta do it.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? Since then, we've been pretty much keeping it here.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's been fun.
This has just been the most fun, just having people over to jam.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a comforting setting.
It's like
For sure.
it's kind of like a first band practice.
Totally.
You know, every time we do it,
Yeah.
it's like you're starting a
Well,
band
we all-
with a couple of guys.
Yeah, we all had those experiences, right? Growing up, where it's like,
Uh-huh.
oh, I'm gonna go jam with this drummer, you know? And it's
and
like,
you have no idea.
what are you into? Well, I'm into this. Like, I remember a lot of dudes like, do you like Kiss? And it's
Yeah.
like, no, I fucking don't. Like, you don't know, whatever. Like,
How does
you don't know
anybody
Cold
like it?
Gin? Like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, still don't know. I think that's a Kiss song. I'm not
Probably.
sure.
Yeah, we have a lot of opportunity for multiple band offshoots from this. I mean, we've had like almost every episode. You have that moment where you're going like, "Is this a band? Like, is this a song? We could create something."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, and that's been cool. I think if you bring like-minded people together, I mean, they can communicate musically.
Mhm.
And
I still do want to have you bring your band over, Golden Cadillacs.
Yeah.
yeah,
We have.
that would be
That'd be
awesome.
killer.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Get some.
We could do it. What are you doing tomorrow? We'll be at my house recording tomorrow, actually.
All right on.
How close are you guys now?
Oh, to the completion of a record?
Yeah.
I mean,
Are you still recording?
we've
for
been
that
about
record?
80% for like a long
known you,
time.
man.
For 80% of the time that you've known
I
each
think I
other.
met you at like
Pretty much.
60% actually.
Yeah, it's
a couple years ago.
Yeah, well, we did the basics a long time ago, and now, we've sat with them, and Nick was actually out of town when we cut the basics, who's the other guitar player in our band, and so yeah, it's just been a slow progress of getting everything up to speed and finding time. Now, we started off doing it at Jackie's studio down in Goldt. And then that was just, the days that the studio was open. Can you get the engineer? Is he open on that day? It was just small windows, so it was just taking forever.
Did you guys use the Grateful Dead tape machine?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool. What were
Yeah,
Dead albums made on that machine?
In the Dark.
In the
That
Dark was
record,
it?
yeah.
That's cool. You
Touch
guys
of
got to
Grey
use-
was on that record, I think
Yeah.
it's on that
That was
record,
the big
right?
hit
Yeah.
off there.
Yeah, that's like
That's
probably
the
the most
same-
popular song.
You guys recorded
Yeah.
your album on the same tape head that did Touch of Grey.
Wow.
Like the Dead's
Yeah.
biggest hit.
That's their biggest,
really.
yeah.
It's their
definitely
biggest radio
their biggest
hit.
hit.
So
For
we're
sure.
It
definitely having a hit or two, is
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Exactly.
Well,
yeah.
this is all I'm saying. You
Get the
can't
good
blame the
mojo on there.
machine.
Or it's true. You can't fault the machine.
It
It had a hit before. Maybe it's the pilot error. It's true.
So do you
Shit.
guys like to record isolated tracks, or do you guys like to record in the room live together as your
I think
first
it's better
foundation?
to record somewhat live, so then the drummer gets the feel of the song, and there's some spontaneity to what's going on musically,
Yeah.
and especially hitting tape. You kind of want that. There's just certain things tend to like kind of glue together, and there's something that happens when you're playing live with somebody, your reaction to them, that you can't ever replicate when you do an overdub, So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of into that, but having said that, a lot of this record is overdubbed, because it's pretty parts oriented.
So the foundation is like laying an isolated drum track, but live with everybody kind of doing it together.
Yeah,
Take the good parts and then do your booth work.
Yeah, mostly how these songs were tracked was so the singer Adam, who you met, myself, and our drummer Zach, the three of us, basically me playing acoustic guitar or some type of rhythm guitar, and Adam either playing bass and singing or just singing mostly. That's mostly what he was doing. So there was that going. I played bass on a few things, so we did that.
I really liked your bass playing.
Oh, thanks, man. It's been a while since I played bass.
Yeah.
But
as a drummer, I mean, that's my right-hand man, and I don't get to play with many really good bass players.
Bomb bass player.
He's talking about me.
Tony, we hadn't. I don't think it had been a couple years that we jammed together before we even played bass.
Bass.
Really?
I've hardly even.
I think he's done
almost
2
all
or 3
the time I've played bass
it.
lately has been on the podcast.
Yeah, the only times really.
That's the only time we've played together.
The podcast with Ryan, I heard, because Ryan sent it to me.
Yeah,
because I didn't even really know that you guys were doing this, and so I checked it out, and I was in. I was playing a gig somewhere, and I was just getting ready to it. I'm like, dude, the bass playing sounds good on this. I wonder who played. And then later I found out it was you guys were just trio, right? I think. That one, it sounded cool. There was some cool stuff in there. Dug it.
Yeah, that was the beginning. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could just geek out in the room with bass.
Grab the bass.
Yeah, it'd be fun to do
We
some
just
stuff.
got going.
Totally.
You guys were just owning it on the guitars.
Yeah.
How could we just take those instruments away from you?
That was actually like the first time I've really like played with another guitarist for a couple of years, really like that in that kind of setting.
Yeah.
I had
You guys were
a lot of good
it was an
conversation.
awesome match, you two jamming together.
It was a very
Nice.
good match.
It was cool. We were going back and forth. We'd like kind of
Mhm.
change the groove a little bit as we'd switch, like soloing, you know?
Yeah.
But it turned out to be cool.
You guys have a very unique vibe. Each of you would go, but it would be would interchange.
Everything was pretty cool, man. I mean, I really liked a couple of solos you did at the end there were pretty epic, man. Pretty epic shit there, and then
I was trying
the
to
drumming
follow
was
you
killer.
up.
Yeah,
30-second
thank you.
notes.
Thank
you
you.
know.
yeah,
I just want to
yeah.
compliment.
The drumming kind of like kept it all like going. I mean, the tempo, like I don't know, the energy was there like all night. So I mean,
One cool thing was like I didn't
enough
even
that.
realize, it didn't occur to me that we were even recording really the whole time.
Yeah,
So that's
you-
kind of
you just
cool.
Go
you
fall
know?
into that kind of comfortable spot.
Yeah, because normally I'd like, well, if you're recording, you better play it safe. Like fucking safe was out the window on note 1. So that's kind of cool.
It did. It went overall like completely like we weren't recording for everybody.
Which makes for like we all made mistakes or whatever, but
yeah.
What's a
What are you gonna
mistake,
do?
right?
That's the only thing you want is people to really try, like not hold back with jamming. Like, you want to hear the mistake or them going balls to the wall and fitting it in and then nailing it later.
yeah.
Like,
I wonder what it would
that's
be
the best
like
part.
if you like did it again. Like, you know what I mean? Like you guys always do like a one-off, but like
we've had a couple of repeat guests, and,
okay.
and we wondered that too. And it's kind of you're like, oh shit.
But
it's
it's like months
It's turned out
later, so
good.
it changes. The whole everything changes.
I guess it's always kind of a
But it has
one-off,
turned out well. I mean, and then we had Kevin.
It's
he
always
was
a
kind of the
different
house
night,
bass.
It's all.
Yeah.
And that's
things
what
are
we're trying to do:
different every time you
capture
meet.
the moment and where we're at now, what we're thinking, what we're talking about, the vibe that we're playing. And yeah, it does. And in just a week or two,
Oh yeah.
especially when you're doing it regularly, you're kind of like self-conscious. I'm sounding like myself too much, right? So you're always trying to lay a little something different down, even though you probably sound like yourself. But I mean, that's why we've kept doing it. I mean, every episode
It's cool.
it's been like, man, a very, very just like positive experience.
Yeah. Well, shall we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up. Another one in the
thanks-
books, huh?
Thanks for coming out, guys. We got
Thank you guys.
Jeremy
Thank
Plog,
you.
Chris Arnett,
All right.
and it's
Once
up. I
again.
guess it's up to you guys to listen and decide who's playing what at what point.
I think we could probably figure it out.
Well, we can.
We can,
But
but
whoever,
the listeners,
whoever
right?
listens
The
isn't
listeners, yeah.
isn't really going to know who's
Where's
who.
Waldo? That's up to you,
Yeah.
folks.
I guess. Okay.
And will they know when we switch?
If you're listening, we'll give you a little bit of a map right now. I started on bass, and then Jeremy played bass later. Chris never played bass. So if you hear one consistent guitar
right
all the way through all night, that was Chris. And me and I played guitar at the end, and Jeremy played at the beginning.
Bass at the end, right? Swapper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and there was an SG, a Tele, and a semi.
Yeah. So if you hear the Tele, that's Jeremy. Chris has got the
hollow
kind of
body.
the 335. Kind of
yeah. I got the SG. So for the tone people.
A Vox and a Fender.
Yeah. And okay, if you heard the Fender amp tone, that was Chris. And if you heard the Vox tone, that was me and Jeremy.
And if you heard the sticks on the board, that was me.
Huh? Yeah.
All right.
Signing off.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Later.
Good night.
See ya.